I'm Richard Seltzer. I'd like to share with you a romantic story from my book, To Gether Tales, which will soon be published by All Things That Matter Press. In the book, the narrator, in the midst of the pandemic, thinks back to a 7-day Caribbean cruise he was on a few years before, on which 8 people shared a dining table and swapped stories every night. The narrator laments that with social distancing and mask wearing, love at first sight may no longer be possible. Imagine that you are on that cruise and that this story is told by someone sitting across from you at the dinner table. The Duke and Duchess of Coney Island. 2 70-year-olds are sitting on the same bench in Hyde Park, London, both of them reading the Times. The next day, they both return to the same bench at the same time, each doing so deliberately, hoping to see the other. And to their mutual surprise, this time they both were reading the novel A Paris Affair by Tatiana de Rosnay, a book about discreet, anonymous sexual affairs. Each is widowed and shy. Each assumes the other is married and a man of the world. They spend the entire afternoon together there on the park bench, neither of them saying a word to the other. The next day, they both return to the same bench at the same time, only this time, rather than sit, the gentleman offers the lady his arm, and they stroll around the Serpentine, the long, winding lake in Hyde Park near Kensington Palace, where Princess Diana once lived. They're dressed in everyday, inexpensive clothes, and each presumes that the other is ordinary, middle class, retired. They enjoy the routine that they have slid into, the quiet companionship, and don't want to complicate matters by talking about their past history and personal lives. Let well enough alone. Silently, they've discovered that they have much in common. They value their own privacy, and they're content to grant the other the right of privacy as well. They each continue to bring that same book with them, although both have finished reading it, and each knows that the other is finished. Each considers the book to be a discreet request, an invitation to take their mute companionship to another level. One day when they meet at their bench, instead of taking her arm, he dares to draw attention to his book and to hers. They smile, and he leads her past the Marble Arch, which used to be known as Tyburn, notorious as the site for public hangings. They walk along Bayswater Road, past a pub that advertises that was the last stop for criminals on their way to Tyburn, to a discreet middle-class hotel where they check in as Eugene and Tatiana de Rosnay. She smiles at his creativity and the names he chose, the author of the book they shared, and the reference to Pushkin's Eugene Onegin and the Tatiana with whom he had an affair. After they discreetly enjoy one another, they speak briefly to one another, using those names when addressing one another. They continue meeting daily, only now they go straight to the hotel rather than to the park. She insists on sharing the cost of the hotel room and not wanting to be a burden on him, but also doing it in a way to imply that she is careful, just as careful and concerned about finances as he is. Then he tells her that he just got a windfall of a few £1,000, and he'd like to take her on a transatlantic cruise and on a holiday in New York. They sail with an inside cabin on a low deck. They stay in a modest hotel in Yonkers and go downtown by subway. She helps with the expenses. She has a delightful time in a world unlike any she has experienced before. They extend their stay, then extend it again. In late spring, they rent a beach house near Coney Island. She wonders what he's telling his wife and how he can afford this. He wonders what she's telling her husband and how she can afford this. Then, sitting on a beach chair, she on his lap, and both reading the same copy of the London Times, they see a news item about socialists who mysteriously dropped from sight, the Duke of Wessex and the Duchess of Northumberland. They look each other in the eye and break out in chuckles, and that's where they stay together for the rest of their lives. If you enjoyed this story, Please let me know in comments and I'll do more of the same. You can find my books at Amazon. My name again is Richard Seltzer, as in Alka-Seltzer. My most recent books are Parallel Lives, Beyond the Fourth Door, and Nevermind. They can be read in any order. They're independent stories with overlapping theme and styles. Each presents a different view of reality, a different way of trying to make sense of the mysteries of life.